Okay, just in Fallout 4, looking at settlements. I've put a video about supply lines already, but a few people have asked about it, sort of offline, not on YouTube. A few people have asked me about it, so I just wanted to show you the supply lines I've got set up and sort of show what you can do with them and the benefits they give. There's another video on my channel already about how to set them up, so I'm not going to show you that, but let's just have a quick look at supply lines. So if we just go into the Pip-Boy, and we're on the map, if we just zoom out, and if you press, I'm on the PS4, so if you press L1, it basically shows you all of your supply lines and all of your settlements. And you can see here, the green lines are my supply lines, and you can see how I've got the settlements linked together. Starlight Driving is my biggest settlement in terms of numbers. I've got 14 settlers at Starlight. Red Rocket, I've not actually got a settlement beacon, and I know it looks like it's connected to the supply lines, but actually it's not. It's not connected at all. It just happens that the line from Sanctuary to Starlight passes through it. Abernathy is connected to Sunshine Tidings and Sunshine Tidings to Sanctuary. The reason I've done it that way is I didn't have enough settlements. Abernathy, you can't actually use any of the characters from Abernathy to create a supply line. That's something to bear in mind when you are creating them. You can't use named characters. It won't let you use named characters to create supply lines. So the three main characters at Abernathy Farm you can't use. I haven't put a recruitment radio beacon there, but so that's why it's kind of linked the way it is, because I use somebody from Sunshine Tidings to go to Sanctuary, and then someone else from Sunshine Tidings to go up to Abernathy, so that's why it's linked like that. But that doesn't matter, because Abernathy still gets shared resources from Sanctuary. That's the thing to remember. All of these settlements that are linked together can share resources with each other. It doesn't matter that they're not directly linked. So Starlight is kind of central, so it acts as a bit of a hub. You can see it goes down to Grey Garden, which then goes down to Oberland. And we've got Nordhagen, which goes to County, which goes to Greentop Nursery, and I haven't actually got the slog yet in this particular character. Outpost on Europe at the top is connected to Ten Pines Bluff, which then connects to Starlight. So, but all of these supply lines, the fact that they're all connected together, all of these settlements share resources with each other. It doesn't matter that they're not directly connected to each other. So resources stored at Sanctuary can be shared with Nordhagen, because it is connected to Sanctuary via the supply network. So it's quite good to set up supply lines if you're into your settlement building, because it lets you share your resources, certain resources. I'll explain that in a sec. As you can see down at the bottom of my map, I actually have 3 settlements which are independent. They're not connected up to the main network yet, which are Somerville Place right down at the bottom, Jamaica Plains, and the Castle. They're connected to each other, so they can share resources between the 3 of them, but because they don't have a connection up here, they can't share resources with anything else at the moment, which is something I need to sort out. So I do need to set up a supply link between probably the Castle and somewhere up here. There's some settlements that you can pick up here. Hangman's Alley is one of them, so I kind of want to link the Castle to that and then that to Oberland, but so I haven't kind of done that yet. So what are the benefits of supply lines? Because I didn't really explain that in the other video. Well, I don't think I did. It's one of the first ones I made. I can't really remember, if I'm honest. If I go, let's go to the workbench here at Starlight, and I'll show you. Well, okay, so if I open up the workbench, as you can see here, we've got all sorts of bits and pieces. And if you set up a supply line, basically what you share between your workshops, between your settlements, is everything that's in here, junk. So these are things like where you've got acid there, you've got antiseptic, you've got asbestos, you've got a bloatfly gland which gives you acid, you've got the hairbrush which gives you plastic and silver, you've got fiberglass, you've got glass, you've got lead, you've got gold, nuclear material, plastic, rubber, steel, wood, things like that. These are what are stored in this particular workbench, but I can access these materials from any of my settlements, and I can access materials stored at Sanctuary Hills from any of my settlements, but they won't show up in the workbench. It'll just use them. So if I go into build mode, you'll notice that we didn't have any wood in that workbench. But if I go into wooden structures and I go to build something, I can't build it because I haven't got any steel, but if you look, I've got 670 wood available. And that's basically the collective amount of wood that I've got stored in all of the workbenches around all of my settlements. It shares that particular resource. So it's basically building materials that you share between your settlements. What you don't share with supply lines are things like apparel, or anything else you've got. So I've got a clean suit stored in here. I can't access that from another settlement. I can only access it by coming to this workbench. And the same goes for aid. I can only access the stuff I've got here by coming to this workbench. I can't access that shared. It's building materials you can basically access. Something else that you can get though through sharing through supply lines, food and water. If I go to workshop mode again, you can see your food and you can see your water, and they're both green. I'm producing 20 food here and 6 water. 6 water is not enough for 14 people, but it's green, and the reason it's green is that we're actually sharing water with the other settlements. So at Sanctuary Hills I've got 2 purifiers which produce 20 water, and I can access that here as well. And I can access the 40 water from the no, I can't because it's not linked to it. But in theory, I can access the 40 water from the castle once it's linked into this network. So you basically share, if you have supply lines set up, you will share building materials, food and water between your settlements. So you'll find that your food and water will go to green in settlements where it's actually too low if you link it with a supply line to another settlement where there's excess. So if you take something like, say, Grey Garden, where there's obviously a massive amount of food, because it's a big food production greenhouse, but relatively few settlers because, well, they're all robots, and there's only 6 of them. That food, if you link it with a supply line to another settlement, that food is shared with the other settlements. So it is a good way of making sure your food and your water supplies are not too low for your settlements, which obviously means your happiness is going to go up, not go down. Obviously things like defence, beds, power aren't shared, but food and water is, and your building materials are. So if you really are into your settlement building, you need to set up your supply lines because it lets you share building materials. I mean, for example, here at Starlight Drive-In, when I first started, there were loads of cars here. I mean, anyone who's gone to Starlight will know that. There's loads and loads of cars here. You scrap those, you get loads of steel, but there's very few trees, so you don't get very much wood. But if you link yourself to Sanctuary Hills, there's lots of trees in Sanctuary Hills, so you get lots of wood from there. And then by linking the two together, you can use the steel from Starlight at Sanctuary and the wood from Sanctuary at Starlight, and vice versa. You know, so supply lines, very valuable, definitely worth setting up, and great for sharing the resources around if you're into settlement building. Obviously, if you're not, well, there's no point doing it. But if you are, it comes in handy. The only thing to bear in mind is that you need to have settlers that you can set as provisioners. If you haven't got enough settlers, you can't do it. So you really need to set up recruitment radio beacons. Oh, hello, Carla. What are you doing here? Oh, you're not Carla. You're a provisioner. You're a provisioner that looks a bit like Carla. You need to have enough settlers at your settlements to turn into provisioners. If you don't have enough, you can't do it. So recruitment radio beacons are your friends. You really need to get those set up. Make sure you get a few settlers in, then you can set up provisioners and set up supply lines as per my other video on the channel. And remember something else, that when you do set up a settler as a supply line, they do still count against your number of people in that settlement. Even though they're not technically there, they do still count towards the number of people in the settlement, which obviously means that you'll still hit the maximum number of people, including your provisioners, because obviously there is a maximum number that you'll hit. I've got 14 in this settlement. It's based on your charisma score. I think it's 10 plus whatever your charisma is the maximum. So in theory, 21 is the maximum you can have at any settlement. But anyway, we're digressing a little bit. But there you go. That's a little bit about supply lines. I've rambled a little bit, but hopefully that made sense. So again, thanks for watching. Hopefully that's answered the questions for people who are asking me. I'll send the link round. And to anyone else who was wondering about supply lines and the benefits of them. So thanks for watching, and I shall see you again soon.